welcome to a third video in a series called That's What Shakespeare Said, where we're taking a look at some of the idioms or sayings that Shakespeare either created or he made popular because of their use in his various works. So far we've covered 12 of his idioms, and in this video we're going to do 6 more. So let's get started. The first idiom, number 13 in the series, is green-eyed monster, which comes from the play Othello. Now this is actually one I think that is pretty well known, the green-eyed monster being jealousy. So this is what Iago says. "Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on." So this is the living embodiment of jealousy. So for one, green is associated with sickness, and certain illnesses of the liver and sometimes the blood give the skin a tint of green or yellowish color. So here's an example. When his ex-girlfriend started dating his close friend, the green-eyed monster began scratching at the door of his heart. Watch out. Idiom 14 is in my mind's eye, and this comes from Hamlet. Now, this is another phrase that actually predates Shakespeare all the way to 1390 by Chaucer, but again, Shakespeare made it popular when it was written by him into Hamlet in 1602. Here's your quote. Hamlet says, "Or ever I had seen that day, Horatio, my father, methinks I see my father." And since the father is dead, Horatio says, "Where, my lord?" And Hamlet says, "In my mind's eye, Horatio." So it's this idea that we can create pictures or scenarios or scenes in our minds that when we close our eyes, we can actually see these images and hold them before us. So we can picture someone in our mind's eye. It's kind of like when we hold someone in our heart, that kind of idea. So here's an example. In my mind's eye, I could picture our first date going perfectly and us really hitting it off. Little did I know that Chick-fil-A was closed on Sunday and she had her heart set on a chicken club. It was heartbreaking. Speaking of hearts, our 15th idiom is in my heart of hearts, also from Hamlet. This phrase didn't start out as heart of hearts. It started out as heart of heart because the change came from one other phrases that we have where there was more than one choice of something. Like you could say my love of loves, because you could have more than one thing you kind of hold dear to yourself. So it's been more pluralized even though you only have one heart. Here's what Hamlet says to Horatio. "Give me that man that is not passion's slave, and I will wear him in my heart's core, I in my heart of heart, as I do thee." So the idea is that our heart is the place of origin of our feelings. That's a metaphor already. So the heart of your heart is the softest and most tender part of what's in your affections. That makes sense. Example is this. "I knew in my heart of hearts I would never betray her trust in me, so I've always tried to be honest and faithful." Idiom number 16 is from Julius Caesar, the tragedy of Julius Caesar, and it's this. "It's Greek to me." Now the interesting thing about this idiom is that it started off in the play with a literal meaning. This player, the character Casca, who said this line, was kind of sarcastic, he was kind of gruff, who mostly meant this saying at face value, right? It's said that it's a form of what was written by medieval monks when they had trouble translating parts of the Greek in the Bible, so they would simply write in Latin, "It is Greek, it cannot be read." Here's what it says in the play. Cassius says, "Did Cicero say anything?" And Casca said, "I." "He spoke Greek." And Cassius, assuming he knew what he meant, said, "To what effect?" Casca's response was, "Nay, and I tell you that, I'll never look ye in the face again." But those that understood him smiled at one another and shook their heads, but for my own part, it was Greek to me. In other words, I don't know Greek, so I don't know what was said. So the phrase simply means you don't understand something that's been said, or you don't understand something that's been going on. Someone does not have to be speaking Greek for this idiom to be used. It just simply means it's beyond me, right? So an example, yeah, the professor tried to reteach the calculus problem, but it was Greek to me. I didn't get it. In my opinion, right, this works when you're talking about anything but another language at this point. Because if you said to someone, yeah, they were talking in Spanish, but it's Greek to me, they'd be like, well, I thought you said they were talking in Spanish. Yeah, they were. Well, then how was it Greek to you if it was Spanish? See, it doesn't work. You have to use it with something other than a language at this point. But originally it meant the Greek language. I don't get it. Idiom number 17 is kill with kindness. This is from The Taming of the Shrew. Now, the weird thing about this phrase is we now actually use it to mean the opposite of what it meant when Shakespeare wrote it. Here's what Petruchio said in the play. This is a way to kill a wife with kindness, and thus I'll curb her mad and headstrong humor. He knows that better how to tame a shrew. Now let him speak, 'tis charity to show. So Petruchio is in an arranged marriage with a rather difficult woman, and what he actually means by killing her with kindness is he's going to deprive her of food and sleep until she gives in and becomes a more agreeable or suitable wife. Now when we say it, it actually means to be overboard nice and extremely generous to someone in order to kind of get them to come to your side. That is not what Petruchio had meant. He was not going to be kind when he actually said this phrase. He was actually going to be kind to himself later on, right? Because she was going to be more agreeable to him. Here's an example. My rule of thumb is that when I meet someone who's angry or agitated, I try to kill them with kindness so they relax and open up to me. So the last idiom in this video is number 18, Laughingstock, and that comes from the Merry Wives of Windsor. Here's Sir Hugh Evans' aside to Dr. Caius. Pray you let us not be laughingstock to other men's humors. I desire you in friendship, and I will one way or other make you amends. Being the laughingstock means like you're the big joke in front of other people. Think about the Middle Ages when people would actually be put in like a wooden structure called the stocks, and they would be kind of locked in there in the public square to be held up as something to mock as punishment for whatever crimes they did. So people would walk by, you'd be out there clearly being punished and being made fun of. Here's an example. My epic fail that was caught on video made me the laughing stock of all my friends. You don't want to be the laughing stock. Unless, of course, it goes viral on YouTube, and then maybe you do. Thanks for taking the time to check out these idioms today. Would love it if you could subscribe to this channel. Here are the other videos in this series. That's what Shakespeare said. And I put up a couple other playlists that, might be of interest. So check them out. Thanks for watching. Until next time.